Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we are reading some stories from our /malicious compliance. Let's get into the stories. 32 cheeseburgers and a free Philly cheesesteak. From Skyraker Beyond. Since we're sharing our McDonald's experiences, here's mine. I worked at a smallish McDonald's in and around 2005, which was situated in the parking lot of a big box store complex. I covered mainly lunch shifts during the summer before transitioning to night shifts after school started back up. I hated all the other part-timers because they were lazy butts, while the lunch crew were a bunch of retired old ladies who needed extra money for bridge gambling. But that's another story. It was a rainy Tuesday when a guy wearing a blue and red jacket stormed in and ordered 32 cheeseburgers. If you've ever worked in fast food, you know that the fryer, flat-top grill, is only so big. You can grill, about 12 regular burger patties at once if you absolutely jam them in there, but at the McDonald's I worked at we segregated our fryers, so we had one dedicated to chicken and fish products, one dedicated to meats, and a third of the meat fryer, also called the flat-top grill, was dedicated to no salt and pepper. Normally burgers come with salt and pepper put on during the frying process, but some people who frequented our store were allergic, so we had a separate off area for that. This meant we could only do 8 patties at a time. To further cause issues, this guy arrived in the middle of our dinner rush, so we already had orders frying up, and our stock of existing burgers was already out. I'm in the kitchen and I immediately threw more burgers on the fryer, but after that, it was just a waiting game. I can hear this irate burger man ranting at the staff. Our manager would have beat his ass if she'd been there, but we only had a supervisor, and after the man made her cry, I, as the most experienced worker on shift, stepped in to keep things going. I went out front and told the man that we were making the burgers as fast as we could, but obviously there are limits he told us to fuck ourselves with. He then went on a rant about how he needs these burgers to feed his kids' soccer team, and they're waiting in the bus for their dinner. I indicated that we did do catering orders, but we have a phone number precisely for that. He continued to rant at me about how he needed his burgers now and we should have just already had 32 burgers already cooked and ready, because didn't we know that sometimes people just need 32 burgers and blah blah blah. So I went back and made his burgers, loaded them all up, and handed them over. He took the burgers and then fixed me with a smirk and went, "Where's my Philly cheesesteak?" This was at the time we had a deli counter, something that has long since been phased out. This ingrate did not order a Philly cheesesteak, and we both knew it, but he kept circling back to a "the customer is always right" comment and demanded he had, and we'd just forgotten it, and he demanded that he must get his cheesesteak that he didn't pay for. He threatened that he'd demand his money back if we didn't get him his cheesesteak. Alright, fine. I was the only one in the store who could make deli sandwiches. It was super simple, everyone else was just inept or lazy or both. Normally we take 2 buns, run them through the toaster, throw on lettuce, take a packet of pre-mixed Philly cheesesteak, put in the microwave, nuke for 2 minutes, then drop it on top, sauce it and go. This time I went through all the steps without nuking it, wrapped it all up nicely, and handed it off to the guy with a smile. I'd even heated the bun like normal, so it looked just like a regular Philly, but the meat and cheese were an ice-cold brick. The guy headed off jauntily, got into his bus and presumably distributed his cheeseburgers, then drove off. I headed to the back to see how the supervisor was getting on better, but she wanted to go home for the night. Now, while I was senior in the sense that I took on a lot of responsibility and had experience with this kind of stuff, I was actually quite new to that store. I just had a reputation for not taking shit and being responsible. So I wasn't actually authorized to close up the store. Still, I conferred with the other staff, we rang up the actual manager and got approval to close early. So we get everything ready and done, pack up, and begin closing up the front and the bus, and a very angry man in a red and blue jacket pull in. He practically leaps down from the bus and races across the parking lot towards our door. At which point I smile at him, lock the door, and turn the open sign off. Then closed the blinds and we all filed out the back. He was still beating on the door as we got into our cars and left. Attend a mandatory interview for a job they don't want? From No to Low to Sleep. Another subreddit comment jogged my memory about this, and I thought you'd appreciate it here. In my late teens, I worked for the job center. I was sitting and observing an employer interviewing for warehouse jobs. My role was to confirm the attendees were responding seriously rather than just to keep getting benefits. My checklist was specific, just a numbered list with check yes or no, did they answer X question in full. 15 questions. Nothing personal about the client, like how they present themselves or the content of their answers. We had one client who had been unemployed since before my birth, Mr. P. Not incapable of working, he just didn't want to. Nice enough chap, and very well educated. Sadly for him, he'd been informed that if he didn't attend this job interview his benefits would cease for 26 weeks. In he trots to his mandatory interview. It had obviously been raining because he was rather soggy, and smelt like when you open a tent that's not been used for a long time. He's wearing full camo gear, a baseball cap saying "bad girl" looking for a good time whilst pulling a shopping trolley filled with newspapers wrapped in twine. He's also wearing leather sandals with socks. He proceeds to remove his sandals and very wet socks, wrung them out over the carpet and carefully placed the socks on the radiator. By this point the interviewing manager's chin is on the floor and I'm trying not to look anywhere but my own lap in case I start sniggering. The guy answered all the interview questions perfectly normally, but interspersed the time between questions with comments like "I just picked a raspberry seed from between my teeth, the last time I ate any was a good 6 months ago." Just as they were about to end the interview and I'm internally congratulating myself on keeping my face neutral, he groaned, rubbed his knee and announced his cervix had cramp. I lost it and had to leave the room. He did not get the job, he also kept his benefits. For some reason the employer began using a recruitment agency for their vacancies not long afterwards. R.I.P. Mr. P. Well done on beating the system for so long. Edit, just to clarify, Mr. P wasn't homeless, had no mental issues he made us aware of, and usually dressed normally. I'm not mocking a vulnerable person. I'm not making fun of anyone's misfortune except the interviewers. Want us to look for problems to repair? Okay, we'll look for problems and repair them. From Able Relationships 6808. This happens when I worked at the post office years ago. I was one of about 40 mechanics and electronic technicians on the 3 p.m. to 11:30 shift whose job it was to fix the machines used to process mail. It was a huge facility with thousands of people working there. This may not seem believable today, but first-class mail had to be received, processed, and shipped out within 24 hours. Letters and packages start arriving in the afternoon. Sacks of letters and packages are placed on conveyor belts, stamped mail is cancelled, all mail is sorted on machines, placed in trays for shipment to their destination, and placed on trucks for shipment directly to the destination post office or the airport. Mail came between 3 p.m. and 8 p.m. and went out around 5 a.m. Up to 2.5 million stamped letters per day during Christmas, but usually around 600K, plus metered mail and parcels. Every weekday. Our job was basically to sit around, wait for something to break, and fix it ASAP so it would run to the end of the shift. The day shift could do a more permanent fix if necessary. That was our job. Wait for some machinery to break and fix it. We sat in small groups near our machines and read, gossiped, or did whatever. One day, some bigwig saw us and didn't like us sitting around doing nothing. Word came from on high and we were told to patrol our areas and fix the broken equipment. Our chairs were taken away so we could not sit down. Now comes the malicious compliance. We did as we were told. We patrolled the building. If anyone saw something broken, we shut down the equipment and fixed it. According to safety regulations, we were required to lock out the power source with our individual padlocks and rope off the area. Hey you 50 clerks, you need to move from under this conveyor belt so we can replace it. Of course, that disables part of the 6-mile-long system, so productivity is lost. Letter sorting machines with 14 clerks are shut down for minor repairs. Stamp canceling machines? The same. Productivity slumped and hundreds of clerks were required to work overtime that night and morning to make up for equipment being shut down for repairs. I'm sure the first night it cost tens if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in overtime. After 3 days, our chairs returned and it was business as usual. Extra onions. From Wicked Crypto 1. This happened years ago. I was working at a McDonald's on a highway rest stop as a teenager over the summer. I was making the burgers in the back when a belligerent customer came up and ordered a cheeseburger with extra onions. He made sure to emphasize "I want extra onions" loudly and repeatedly, and banging his fist on the counter because last time he ordered extra onions there wasn't enough onions on it. My manager overheard the order as well because the customer was being loud and rude to the cashier. I looked over at my manager and he gave me the nod. He knew what I had in mind and that he would have my back. QMC, standard cheeseburgers are supposed to have a little sprinkle of this diced onion mix. I proceed to pile on about a cup of diced onion on top of the burger. To keep it from spilling off the burger, I alternated a slice of cheese between 1/2 thick onion layers, so a total 1.5 thick layer of diced onion and cheese ended up on this burger along with the other toppings. I microwaved it so the melted cheese fused with the onions to keep it all together as best as possible, wrapped it up carefully and put it out for the cashier to pick up. It was as tall as a Big Mac and weighed 3 times a normal cheeseburger. The cashier picked it up and her eyes grew wide as she hesitantly bagged it, glanced at the manager as he waved her on, and walked back to her register. The customer snapped the bag out her hand and says, "This better have extra onions on it or I'll be back." We watched the guy grab his condiments and napkins and head to the seating area, so the manager stayed at the counter waiting for any blowback. It wasn't busy, so we sent a staff member to go check on the napkin station that was near the guy to see his reaction as he opened up his onion burger. Sure enough, he unwraps the burger, looks at it inquisitively as onions and cheese spill out the sides, does a little nod and smirk like this was exactly what he was looking for, and takes a huge bite out of it, chews a couple times. His eyes then go wide and realizes his mistake and immediately spits it out onto the tray. He sits there sheepishly for a few moments with an embarrassed look on his face while he inspects the burger more closely, and you can see him ponder his next move while he drinks his soda and munches on fries. He tries scraping off some onion onto the wrapper, but the cheese and other toppings are coming with it, basically left with a plain hamburger and bun. He tries unsuccessfully to reassemble the burger with less onion and some of the other toppings, but it was a big pile of onion/ketchup/mustard/cheese with a single pickle. He takes another bite, then throws it down on the tray in disgust. He finishes his fries, tosses out the burger in the trash, and we watch him leave in embarrassment. He doesn't even glance back to the counter on his way out. Extra pickles. From Bundabar. I worked at McDonald's in the late 90s, and the extra onions story reminded me of a similar happening I had but with pickles. I was working the grill one evening and an order comes through drive-thru for quarter pounder with extra pickles. Standard pickles on the QP was 2, so extra was 4, that was the standard procedure at the time. I slap 4 pickles on the sandwich, wrap it up, slide it into the warmer, and go on to the next order. About 30 seconds later, a guy comes walking into the store carrying a sandwich and smacks it down on the counter. He is visibly angry, probably intoxicated, and says, "How goddamn hard is it to put extra pickles on a sandwich?" The manager intercepts him from the cashier, apologizes, takes the sandwich, and asks me to make a fresh one with extra pickles. I do as I'm asked and make a fresh sandwich with 6 pickles this time, wrap it up, slide it into the warmer, and go on to the next order. The manager hands angry man his sandwich and he immediately unwraps it. He is not satisfied. He begins ranting that we must all be mentally inept, in not so nice terms, to not understand his request for extra pickles. The manager continues to apologize and asks me to make another with lots of pickles. I again do as I'm asked, but instead of counting pickles, I take a literal handful from the dressing table and slap them on. There is now more pickle than bread or meat on this sandwich. I wrap it up and slide it into the warmer. This time I do not go on to the next order. I want to witness the result of my handiwork, so I stand peeking between the pie dispenser and warming cabinet to watch what transpires. Again, he immediately unwraps the sandwich. However, this time instead beginning another rant, his visible anger fades and he stands there in silence. The situation may have been defused until the moment he looks up, locks eyes with me, and sees my stupid 17-year-old grinning face. He is enraged. He throws the sandwich at me and it hits the pie dispenser right next to my head. The missile explodes in a shower of pickles and everybody starts yelling. In the end, Angry Man got a refund, but he also got arrested and trespassed from the store. I declined any charges, but it turns out he was drunk and caught some charges for that. Edit, too many of y'all like pickles way too much. Fun story. Edit, if you put a stack of pickles under the clamshell grill, they will squeal like old car belt for about 30 seconds. Thank you for watching. Please comment, like, and subscribe for more Reddit comment videos. Check the description for the original post from Reddit. Good luck to everyone today.